Welcome to Bits and Pieces Quilting. Today is part one of a three-part series on bags, so stay tuned. Hi, I'm Michelle, and today I want to talk about my journey into bag making. I want to talk about where I've started, where I've ended up, and how I got there all along the way. And then in part two, which I hope you'll come back for, I will be speaking to Denise. She is a friend of a friend, and she is an expert bag maker. I have so many questions for her, and I am really keen to dig in with her and better understand where I can improve my bag making and just learn from her. And then also do a little show and tell because she's got some pretty awesome stuff. And then the third part of this three-part series will be a sew along where we will make this bag. This is the Koda Cross-Body Bag, and I'll talk about where you can get the free pattern online, the materials that you'll need, and then we will put this together. So let's dive right in. My bag making journey started quite a little while ago when I wanted a little wristlet. And so I had this really beautiful piece of Chinese silk fabric, and I just actually turned it into a zippered pouch, much like you've seen me do before in some of my other videos. I like to make them out of old candy wrappers and things. And so for a wristlet or a little fancy evening bag, I just turned my zippered pouch into a handbag by adding a grommet and some hardware. And that turned out really well. But this is really flimsy. I've just used quilt batting inside of it, but it's perfect to hold a phone and a lipstick and an ID and some keys, and then to go out for a night on the town. So love the little wristlet. I also was gifted this fabulous little bag from a friend, from Guida. So thank you, Guida. I use it all the time. This is perfect to hold my phone. I should find my phone. Hold on. Here's my phone. This is perfect to hold my phone in the back like this. And then there's still space here for a credit card and a key, maybe even a lipstick, all in this tiny little pouch, which is a crossbody. It's got a nice long strap on it, a crossbody pouch. This is brilliant for going out at night, going out to a concert. I've actually even worn this under my clothes, which is fabulous. And I also will often wear it when I'm going for a walk. I'll put the plug into my headphones and then just strap this around my body and go for a walk without actually having to carry a full bag. So I love this. I didn't make it, but I think that there's a lot I can learn from Guida and from this really useful bag. I've also been experimenting with pencil cases, and I'll put a link to my pencil case video in the description box down below. And this is also contributing to some of the skills that I've brought into my bag making. So what I want to do, oh wait, one last final thing. I also want to talk about some of the supplies, and I have to give this huge shout out to Jason. You know you have the best quilting husband in the world when he looks at things and says, hey, I'll bet Michelle could make something out of that. So he was at work where they got a pallet delivered, and that pallet was wrapped with this beautiful unbleached cotton canvas. And he said, I'll bet Michelle could do something with that. So he asked around at the office and he asked if he could take it, and they said, yeah, we would just throw it out, which is horrifying. And so he brought it home, we washed it. I'll zoom the camera in a minute. There's a few little spots, and I don't know if you can see that. There's a few little dirt spots on here. But after we washed it and hung it up on the line, I don't know how many meters of this fabric is here, but there's a ton of it. And there are some places where it's got some stains and it's got some magic marker in it and that sort of thing. But for the most part, most of this is a beautiful unbleached cotton canvas. So you'll see in some of the bags I have to show you where I've been able to use this, and it's absolutely brilliant. So extra gold stars to Jason for keeping his eye out and thinking about quilting when he's at work unwrapping a pallet. I'm going to pause the camera and zoom you in so we can take a closer look at some of these bags. So I've brought you down to the table and I want to show you maybe a little bit closer up. So this is the little wristlet with the grommet and the hardware. And I got to tell you, putting this grommet in was crazy difficult, but I love it. I love the way it turned out. But this is, like I said in the introduction, just a really floppy bag, but because of the silk, I use it as an evening bag a lot. But it is just based on your regular zippered pouch, like these ones that I like to make. And then I have the pencil cases, which you may have been able to see from a distance. I also want to just give you a quick little close-up of the bag that Guida made. It's small and so useful. This is fabric as well. I think there's a tiny bit of interfacing in here, but with all of the layers of fabric, it has a certain rigidity for its size, which is more than sufficient. But as you'll see as we go along in this discussion, that the question of interfacing is one of my major questions for Denise. I have a lot of questions. And maybe we'll go into that right away. So I tried to make this really cute little pencil case. And it's just so floppy. The shape, the design, the pattern, it's all really interesting and it's really cute. But I have clearly used the wrong materials because there's no substance to it at all. And it can certainly put some things into it, but I'm not sure. I'm just not that impressed with it. And I will say as well that I don't like the finishing technique. The finishing technique for the pattern writer was to put one of these pieces folded over multiple times and then top stitch it just to hide those raw seams. That I've learned my lesson that that is not an approach I like, and I won't make that again. I won't make those kinds of patterns again where the finishing is almost an afterthought because hiding those seams is just not part of the design process. So in learning about interfacing, this has some fairly lightweight interfacing inside it. So in learning about interfacing, I then tried something much stiffer. And it's the exact same pattern, the exact same design, and this was my second attempt. And oh my gosh, it's like a world of difference. I really like this. There's nothing inside it. The interfacing has just got enough stiffness and structure to it that it's great. But if you're an eagle-eye person, you might notice that this isn't finished. I can't finish it. The interfacing is so stiff and there are so many layers of fabric that I can't finish this raw edge. I tried to sew this down and I got a tiny bit of a distance here and then my needle broke. And if you've watched my videos, you know that I sew on a Juki TL210Q, which is really close to an industrial machine, and it couldn't get through all of this without breaking. I broke 2 needles on this, and I just thought that's it. I can't I can't keep doing it. So I was able to get one side partially sewn. So then I tried some fusible interfacing to try and glue that together just to finish it. But then I realized on the outside that one of my seams, I don't know if you can see that, one of my seams didn't catch. And I just thought, oh, this is just a complete disaster all around. And I'm just going to cut my losses and use it as a learning moment, use it as a teaching moment. So this interfacing is way too thin. This interfacing is way too thick. Interfacing is going to be a major discussion in my conversation with Denise. So with all of this as background, I want to now talk a little bit about where some of my patterns and inspiration come from. And I would be remiss without mentioning the Mama Project. I'm not sure how many of you have seen her videos, but oh my gosh, she is so good. She has tons and tons and tons and tons of fabulous bag projects. And I have learned so much. And it's amazing to me how someone who says not a single word is able to teach so much and so well. So if you haven't checked out the Mama Project, I really encourage you to do so. This is one of her bags, and I'll put a link in the description below so you can watch the full tutorial. As soon as I saw the thumbnail for it, I thought, oh my gosh, I have to make that. That's the perfect bag for me. I just love it. I love the inset zipper here. I thought this was going to be so complicated, but if you follow her instructions step by step, it's not complicated at all. I was so proud of myself, to be perfectly honest. I was so impressed. It has a zippered pocket in the front, which I love. And then there are some non-zippered but still pockets on the inside. I have made this out of, here's the first appearance of this unbleached cotton canvas that Jason brought home for me. So I have that cotton canvas on the top here. And then this is a cotton canvas as well from the fabric store. It's called duck cloth, and it's thicker than quilting fabric. You'll know a difference when you feel it. And I really like it. I think I've just put quilt batting inside this, and it's not bad. This is also, again, part of that interfacing discussion with Denise. I also didn't, I used the duck cloth for the pockets on the inside, and you'll see in later versions where I actually put some interfacing in here to stiffen this up as well. So I learned a lot making this. It took me hours and hours because I really wasn't sure where I was going with it all, but I'm really pleased with the way it turned out. I had a tough time trying to find the webbing that is often used for handles. So this, I think, is actually a piece of 1¼ inch seam tape. It's still pretty nice for a handle, especially with the blue for this bag, but you'll see here that my hardware is 1 inch hardware, whereas my strap is 1½ inch, or sorry, 1¼ inch. So I've got these really not nice parts where things wrinkle a little bit because my hardware is just a little bit too small for the strap. So another lesson learned there. Speaking of hardware, let's jump to that quickly. I was just able to order this on Amazon, and it's just a kit that came from Amazon. I got this pewter gray, this pewter black kind of color. So it comes with these, which is what you run your strap through, so you can adjust the size of your strap. It comes with D-rings. It comes with just the square rings. Can you say that? What do you call these? These little things to run the strap through. It comes with your lobster claws. It comes with all of the different hardware. It even comes, I haven't used these yet, it comes with the little snap closures as well. So pretty good deal from Amazon. And this is all 1 inch hardware. Another question for Denise is where to get thicker hardware. Because given my size and given my preference, I find these straps actually a little thin. I did also find some beautiful webbing just at the hardware store. So this is 1 inch webbing that fits beautifully with this 1 inch hardware. It's in black. It doesn't come in any other color at the hardware store here in Australia. And so super keen to talk to Denise about where to get 1½ or even 2 inch webbing and hardware. Now I have seen that Tula Pink sells webbing as part of all of the bags that she's made with her various lines of fabric. I can order that online, but I've not actually seen it for sale here in Australia. So I actually have a feeling it's crazy expensive. So for that special bag with the perfect fabric, it might be an amazing investment. For me, looking to make a bunch of interesting little things, we'll see. I'm also going to stick a little video in here that I filmed a little earlier about where you might be able to source some hardware. So we'll put that in here and then we'll come right back. Do you have someone in the family that is always going to conferences and trade shows and meetings and things and getting these lanyards at every event? And then they come home or they come back to the office, and what do they do with them? They usually end up in a drawer somewhere. Ask me how I know. So as part of my bag making, I've started to look at these pieces and think, you know what? I'm just going to cut these off, and I'm going to keep this little lobster claw for my bag banking activities. I don't need the lanyard. I have hundreds of them. These ones, I may not be so quick to save, and some of them aren't really all that useful. I'm not sure what I would use that for in a bag. But I have another one here that has another great little lobster claw on it. So I'll cut that one out. And I think there's another one on the end here. I think this is a great way to harvest bag making tools. And these are 1 inch wide, which is the size of the webbing that I'm using. So take a look around, and before you throw these out, see if there's something that you can salvage from the ends. So I hope you will look around for sources for things like this from lanyards amongst your family and friends and colleagues and siblings and kids and whoever else might be going to conferences and collecting all those weird lanyards. So this is where I started, back to the Mama Project. My next adventure in bag making was this one. Love this one. It's a really cool shape, and you can see that I've now got the 1 inch webbing through the 1 inch hardware, and that all fits beautifully. And one of the things that I decided to do in this instance was make a completely removable strap. So I've got the D-rings and the claws on both sides so that I could actually take this strap off and use it on another bag. I don't have to have multiples of the same strap. I'm only going to use one bag at a time, so that might be a way. If I do invest in the really fancy webbing, that might be one way to do it, is just make one strap, but make sure that you add the hardware so that you can detach it and attach it to other bags. This, you might be able to tell, is much, much stiffer interfacing, and I love that. But I have to tell you, it was almost impossible to sew. And so that's the trade-off. How, Denise, I hope she can help. How do you sew with the super, super tough, super thick interfacing, but still get the pieces under your machine and turn it right side out and do all the things you need to do to make the bag? This one, as you can see, I've got this beautiful, the unbleached canvas that Jason brought, and then just a piece of fabric, regular fabric, on the surface, on the top here. It's cool. I also learned, because of the thickness of the bag and the interfacing, I was sewing with a dark thread, and I'm not sure if you can see it here, but as I was turning it, I still had the dark thread in, so that was a mistake. So I really, really dislike the way that that dark thread shows in the bottom of the bag. But honestly, if someone's getting that close, then maybe they're a little too close. I also hadn't learned my lesson by that point to add some interfacing to the pockets. So something to consider for future bags. Also a fun project though. The guidance was all from the Mama Project, so really encourage you to check that out. Then I discovered the Koda Cross-Body Bag, and this is the one that we will make together. That's going to be a quilt along, and it will be the third in this series. So I will gather up the information that you need in order to download the free pattern, and then the materials that you'll need to make it, and we'll make that together. I've made a few adjustments to the pattern. When you see it, you'll see that I've boxed the corners, and that's not the way that they make the bag. And there's a few other tiny little adjustments that I'll share with you when we get there. So I hope you'll come back and join me for that. I love the size of this bag. This is perfect for me for every day, for going anywhere, for going out for dinner, for going to the mall, to go shopping, to do groceries, any of those things. This is the size that I love. I've used that cotton canvas again, and the canvas again from Jason. Thank you, Jason. I was clever enough this time around to line the pocket with a light interfacing here, but and then there's no other pockets on the inside. So this was round one of the Koda Cross-Body Bag, and you can see here that the strap is not detachable. And so I've made a few adjustments for the second version of the Koda Cross-Body Bag, and we'll talk those through in the third video. But that's this one that I showed you at the beginning out of my very precious Anna Maria Horner fabric. This is just cotton. I bought this when we were in Tasmania, if you saw that video, and I've been saving it for the perfect project. And I was too nervous to cut it up to make the first one. But after the success of this bag, I thought, all right, I'm ready. I'm ready to cut into my Anna Maria Horner and make myself the bag. So it's almost the culmination, I think, of all the lessons learned through all these bags. This has a much stiffer interfacing than this one does. It's a little hard to tell because the cotton canvas is thicker here, but this has got a little bit more structure to it. The pocket has the interfacing in it. I actually put some thinner interfacing into interior pockets in this one, and I've made the strap detachable as well as the box corners. So this is almost like the progression of bag making. And so this is where I've landed. And this is sort of the jumping off point to get some tips and tricks from Denise. And I hope you'll stick around for episode number 2 in this 3-part series, where we talk to Denise about some of the issues and questions that I've raised here. And then just, I think because quilters like show and tell, I just want to show you a couple more things. I picked up this piece of beautiful cotton canvas at the fabric store the other day, and I think this is going to be a gorgeous tote bag. And the Mama Project has another beautiful tote bag pattern that I think I'm going to use with this. And conveniently, it matches fairly well with this canvas that Jason found. I also picked up this very cool piece of cotton canvas with some waratahs. This is the national flower of the state of New South Wales here in Australia, and they are just beautiful. So these are waratahs and these are banksia, so very, very typical Australian flowers. So I think that's probably going to become a tote bag as well. Thanks very much for joining me for this part 1 of the 3-part bag series. I hope that it has shown you a little bit of the journey of my bag making, some of the things that I've learned. I've obviously left a lot of questions that I'm really keen to talk to Denise about, and I hope I've inspired you to give some bag making a try. I want to stress again my huge thanks to the Mama Project for the work that she does to put up some pretty amazing videos on YouTube. And don't forget also to join me for the 3rd part in this series, where we make the Koda Cross-Body Bag.